The South African Council of Churches has condemned the brutal killing of eSwatini human rights lawyer Thulani Maseko. He was assassinated outside his home in Mbabane on Saturday. We're now joined by Bishop Malusi Mpumlwana, the General Secretary of the South African Council of Churches. Thank you very much, Tata, for your time this afternoon. This is an act that you are much concerned about. Why and what are the far-reaching consequences if this continues in that Southern African nation? Mpumlwana, unfortunately, we're not able to hear you. If you could please unmute.
I'm sorry. Yes, no, I'm saying this has been going on for some time. I would say the standoff between the King Mswati and pretty much the people that are demanding more democratic rights in the country. But we never expected that it would come to this level. With the South African Council of Churches, together with other councils in Southern Africa, as part of what we call the Fellowship of Christian Councils in Southern Africa, we have been accompanying the Swaziland Council of Churches, and we had a delegation that went to meet with government to try and encourage a proper communication between the government and the people. And we were also encouraged by what we thought was an appropriate intervention by SACC. But the killings of this nature, especially given the unfortunate remarks, I think, that were made by the King on addressing Amabuto, the regiment, to say that when people get killed in retaliation, obviously the suggestion is that the killing of people such as Maseko is a retaliation by government against their behavior. And look, if Maseko had done anything that is as treasonous, then they should have been charged. All he's asking for is the rights of the people of Swaziland to be heard in a democratic system. And it's unbelievable that you can actually have what appears now to be state-sponsored terrorism and the killing of people. And I understand that there may well be a number of other people on the hit list. And this does mean that the region is going to be plunged into a state of terror, because people are going to start fleeing Swaziland into neighboring countries. And then, of course, you can expect hot pursuits, you can expect cross-border killings. And I think that we have to stand up and take note of this. And I think particularly the South African government must really take note of this and act appropriately and accordingly. I would say that is the responsibility of the SADC nations, particularly South Africa.
Mpumlwana, there have been suggestions or reports that suggest that the government of eSwatini holds the belief that these calls for pro-democracy or these pro-democracy calls in the Southern African nation are actually not by just the everyday Mswati person. There's a sinister motive behind that. Then there are other sponsors who are sponsoring the people to rebel against the government of the day or against, the kingdom or the monarch. And so how do you then suggest that the parties find each other so that life for the everyday Mswati can be bearable, right? Because it would appear divine intervention has failed. General talks, you speak of meetings and representatives you have sent there, that has also collapsed. And so no one is finding each other. What then, what else? Should we reimagine how these conversations are being held?
There was a proposal for a coming together of a meeting. And I think that the conditions that were set by the state were difficult to meet. But in any case, if indeed there are sinister forces that are fomenting what is otherwise not the demand of the people of eSwatini, I think the King and his government have a duty to say who that is. What is their intelligence telling them? And if it's people from other countries, why not have a conversation with the governments of those countries? I think that is a ruse. I don't think that, let's just put it different. everybody respects the right of the monarch to exist in Swaziland, in Eswatini. It's a cultural and most highly respected institution. But actually, in all fairness, you take away from that respect when you make the monarch a government, which is something that was done in 1974, where democratic organizations were outlawed. Now, it does not matter what somebody might think that is fomented from outside. The reality is that you cannot, in 2023, expect people to live with a system that does not allow democratic voice. I mean, it's just a natural thing to expect, and I think that all of us should be supporting that, and I think that a proper persuasion for the government of Swaziland to open up and allow democratic process and not have handpicked people to run the country, it's not going to make for peace for the future. It has to be done.
Malusi Mpumlwana is the General Secretary of the South African Council of Churches. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.